They were all shocked as soon as they saw both of them, still hugging and kissing each other so tight without noticing their presence. Baba then took a few steps forward with his mouth agape, and all of a sudden he screamed Mommy's name, Neka. Immediately she looked back swiftly, and on realizing that they were the ones, she hissed and then relaxed herself on the chair. Neka, Baba called again, and his boss, who had been sitting there staring at them, suddenly started the car and then drove off. Baba grabbed his chest, and right before their very eyes, he collapsed. Kofi and Amara began to scream for help, and before they knew it, people started to gather, while one particular man drove to them and then parked before them and asked the people watching to help carry Baba into his car, driving straight to the hospital. Amara was looking at Baba while on their way to the hospital. His eyes were shut and she could hardly feel his breath. She started to shiver as many thoughts kept running through her mind. What if something happens to Baba? We don't even have any relatives to run to. Some are dead, while the rest abandoned us the minute Baba lost his job, she thought. Baba was immediately admitted when they arrived at the hospital, while the Good Samaritan paid his bills without even asking them any questions. And then he bade them farewell. Baba woke up a few hours later, but in tears. He sat up, and with his gaze fixed into the air, he shook his head. Neka, I don't know what I've done to you to deserve this kind of treatment from you. I had always loved and cherished you. I provided for you, making sure you lacked nothing, but I never knew that you've been nursing a thing like this in your mind, he said softly. Amara reached for his shoulder and she shook it, snapping him out of whatever was going on in his head. Baba, it's okay, she said as tears dripped down her face. A while later, Baba was discharged and they headed home, but he still wasn't himself. After making food for them that day, and Amara served Baba his own, he left it untouched till the following day. The morning of the following day, after seeing the food she had served him the previous night untouched, Amara went into the bedroom to see if he was awake, as he was now sleeping in the bedroom. But she met him still sleeping, and then she left him alone so he could rest. A few hours later, she went back into the room and still met him sleeping. It was at that point she knew that all wasn't well. Baba, Baba, she called, but he didn't respond, and then she went closer to him to tap him, only to discover that his temperature was so high that she couldn't even leave her hand on his body. She screamed Kofi's name all of a sudden, who came running into the bedroom, and then she pointed at Baba, asking him to feel his temperature. Kofi did and asked her what they were going to do, but she was as confused as he was. Finally, she went to the road and she called a keki rider to help them carry him to the hospital. They did, and Baba was again admitted. They ended up spending all the money they found in Baba's pocket for his bills. A few days later, they were still at the hospital. They were asked to pay more money for his treatment, but they had no one else to run to, and Kofi suggested that they go to Baba's former place of work to plead with his boss. Maybe he would help, and well, they did. The gate man initially didn't want to let them in, but they pleaded and pleaded, and then he asked them to go to the reception and wait, because he knew them. He was only trying to help, and according to him, it was his little contribution towards Baba's health. They waited at the reception for hours, but they weren't allowed in, and then they decided to leave. As soon as they opened the entrance door, they saw Mommy driving into the compound, and then they paused looking at each other. She parked, came out of the car, and Kofi asked them to go and greet her, and they began to walk slowly to her, but she came out of the car, ignored them by walking past them, and then told the gateman to bundle them out, never to return there. I will forgive you for letting them in today. If I see them here next time, you will lose your job, she added. The gateman initially pretended as though he was chasing them out, but as soon as Mommy entered the building, he took them out and gave them a 1,000 naira note and also asked them to greet Baba. They arrived at the hospital, and to their surprise, they found Baba lying on one of the couches at the reception. They asked the nurse why, and she told them that they needed to leave since they couldn't afford the bills. Well, thank God for the 1,000 naira. They called a keke rider and they took Baba home. When there was nothing to eat after a few days, and Baba was still in the bedroom without saying a word to either of them, there was one woman behind their house who had a vegetable garden and people were coming to buy. Amara went to her, pleaded with her to give her some to sell, and then pay her after she'd sold, and luckily she agreed. That was how she began her little business of selling vegetables at her age, and was able to put food on their table at least once a day. She continued the business. Even after school resumed, she couldn't attend, but only Kofi did, while she stayed and took care of Baba and also her vegetable business. Months passed and even a few years, and Baba was still bedridden. They took care of him and even supported him to have his bath or whenever he needed to use the toilet. This time too, the woman whom she was buying vegetables from had died, and she switched to selling fruits by the road, and by the grace of God, Kofi finished primary school and also started secondary school, all from her pocket. One day by the road where she used to sell, she was backing the road and arranging her fruits when a car parked before her stall, and she heard a man's voice from the car asking her to give him some fruits. "Which and which, sir?" she asked, turning to face him, and lo and behold, it was Baba's former boss, and beside him was her mother. Also, there were two little children behind the car, a boy and a girl. The girl was about 6 years old, while the boy was about 3, and one thing that left her in awe was the fact that the little girl looked so much like her. "Hello, why the silence?" the man asked all of a sudden, when she wouldn't stop staring without a word. She looked at Mommy, who now wore black shades on, setting eyes on her, and she almost said something to her, but she decided to keep whatever she had in mind to say. "Hello," the man yelled again, without noticing anything. The kids, too, couldn't take their eyes off her at this point. "I'm not selling," she said slowly, waving both hands. "You're not selling, or aren't you the owner of this place?" "I am, sir, but I'm not selling." "Please, let's get out of here," said Mommy to the man. "One day, just one day, but it will be too late," Amara muttered to Mommy. She didn't know if she heard her, though, but she immediately kept quiet. "What did you say?" asked the man. "No, nothing." He started the car immediately, and all of a sudden the little girl wound down the window and started waving at her while she waved back till they drove off. She stood there so shocked at the little girl's behavior that she couldn't raise her legs for a few minutes. She just stood there staring at the road, even though they had already left. When Kofi returned from school and came to meet her there, she narrated what had happened earlier to him, and he was as well shocked. But they decided to keep it away from Baba. Years passed, and this time Baba was beginning to gradually recover as a result of a local herb that someone had introduced to her, that at times he would manage to come to where she was selling fruits for some fresh air and then return home on his own. She was by the road one day when a car parked before her stall, and a young girl in a secondary school uniform came down from the car and began to walk towards her. She stood up immediately on seeing her. It was the little girl that was with Mommy and Baba's boss in the car years ago. "Good afternoon, Ma," she greeted with a smile. She was looking so fresh with a very fine dentition. "Good afternoon," Amara replied, staring at her. She was seeing her face on hers, but a younger version. "Remember me?" she asked, but Amara pretended not to. "No," she said, shaking her head. "I'm the little girl that was with her parents years back when we stopped here to buy fruits." "I still don't remember," Amara said. "Okay, the thing is, I have been so restless since the day I set eyes on you. I don't know why, but I feel there's something that connects us both together, which I can't really explain. I pass by here on my way to school every weekday, staring through the car window and wishing to speak to you, but I didn't know how you were going to take it, so I decided to summon some courage today and finally speak to you." Amara sighed with head bowed, and then she looked up. "Who did you come with?" she asked. "My driver. He takes me to school and brings me back." "Oh, okay, please sit," Amara said, pointing at a bench behind her, and then she started to dust it with bare hands. The girl took a few steps backward, and then she sat on the bench. Amara offered her some fruits, but she only picked 2 bananas, which she ate there immediately, and after a few minutes she stood up. "I must leave now, but I'll be coming to see you from time to time," she said, and Amara gave her a hug. "Can we be friends?" she asked with a smile. "No, but we can be sisters," Amara said, and she replied with a grin, nodding her head as she bade her farewell and left for the car, and Amara couldn't stop staring till they drove off as tears dripped down her face. Indeed, blood is thicker than water. "What are you staring at?" Kofi said all of a sudden, startling her, and she quickly cleaned her face before turning to him. "I've been here calling your name for a while now. What have you been staring at?" Immediately she grabbed his hand and she took him into her stall, made him sit on the bench, and she told him everything. He equally couldn't believe it. "So what's going to happen now?" he asked. Well, I'm just going to take her like a sister, she already is, and as for Mommy, I trust Karma, she will definitely come looking for us someday. Kofi then sighed and also shook his head. That's kind of true, but I hope we don't end up in trouble now that the girl wants to start coming around, asked Kofi, staring at her. What form of trouble? More than the ones we've already scaled through, just forget. I'm very sure that God is planning something already through this girl, I can feel it. Well, if you say so, Kofi said, shrugging his shoulders. So what are you going to eat now? I didn't even ask you, how was school? She said, dipping a hand into her pocket. Well, school was fine, and whatever you give me, I will eat. And then she brought out some money and asked him to go buy himself some food and also buy some for Baba. But what about money for my football boots? Every other player in the field has boots, and I'm the only one who still wears slippers to the field. Don't worry, I've been saving some money for that. Please give me some time, I promise to get you one, she said, and he nodded. He got up to leave and he grabbed a bunch of bananas and took to his heels. Kofi, Kofi. She stood up immediately and called at the top of her voice, but he continued running far away without looking back. Don't worry, I will deduct the money from the one I've been saving for your boots. This boy is very senseless. How can he just carry a whole bunch of bananas and run away with it? Does he even know how much that costs? She muttered to herself, sitting back on the bench. Kofi is a lover of football, in fact the best in their team, but he was always mocked because he had no good clothes and boots like the others, but she always tried her best to make sure that his stomach isn't always empty, and as for the clothes and boots, she knew they would surely come later. She waited for days longing for her sister's presence, but she didn't come visiting like she promised. She would stand on the road each morning and during school closing hours hoping to see their car, but she didn't. One major mistake she made was the fact that she didn't even ask her for her name. One afternoon, she was seated with Kofi, who returned from the field in tears, telling her that his coach didn't allow him play football with his team, simply because he had no boots. She was there consoling Kofi and as well thinking about where to borrow money from to complete the one she had to get him boots when the little girl showed up all of a sudden. She was so excited that she immediately stood up to welcome her with smiles and then asked her to sit on the spot she initially sat, while Kofi sat there with mouth agape staring at her. Good afternoon, she said to Amara with a smile and then turned and looked at Kofi. Good afternoon, she greeted Kofi, who couldn't stop staring, and he didn't also bother to at least clean his tears. How come you both look alike this much? He finally voiced out, reaching for his shirt and cleaning his face with it, and they both smiled. But is everything okay? Why are you crying? It's nothing, we just remembered something, Amara said, scratching her head, but Kofi cut in. It's not true, he said, and narrated everything to the girl who felt sorry for him. You know I don't even know your name, Amara said. Oh, that's true. My name is Zara, she said with a hand on her chest. I am Ohamara, but you can call me Amara, and this is my little brother Kofi. Oh, okay, where are you people from? Lagos State, Amara said. Oh, wow, great. My dad is from Abuja, but my mom is also from Lagos State, she said, and Kofi and Amara looked at each other. Oh, great. I have been looking out for your car. I thought you already forgot about me. No, never. We traveled for my auntie's wedding, she said, and Amara nodded. She stayed with them for a while and then left, returned a few days later with a polythene bag. They both exchanged pleasantries. She sat and then opened the bag she was carrying, and lo and behold, she had football boots in them. Amara leapt for joy, but immediately paused as soon as she remembered that Zara was still in secondary school. But where did you get the money to buy this? My savings, I've been saving some money. But what if your parents find out? They won't, because I'm never going to tell them. And together they left for the field where Kofi was, and it broke Amara's heart to see him standing alone in tears while the other team members played in the field. He came to them and they handed him the bag, and on seeing the boots he screamed so loudly that the people playing football had to pause and began to stare at them. He quickly wore them, and he jumped into the field, and Amara became so elated again when his team members gathered him to stare at his boots. Wow, this must be so expensive, she heard his coach say to him, and immediately Zara and Amara turned their backs and walked out of there. Thank you, Amara said to her. It's nothing, she replied with a smile. Zara left as soon as they arrived at Amara's stall, and after she left, Amara sat alone feeling so emotional that she also began to wonder the kind of mysterious world they live in. Just like that, the stepsister she never knew she had came to her on her own. After she closed for the day and went home, she was in the kitchen with Baba when Kofi suddenly showed up so excited, still having his boots on, and on seeing him, she paused immediately and began to scratch her head because she didn't even inform Baba about how the boots came about. Kofi, you borrowed someone's boots, and you didn't even care to return them before coming home. Leave now and go give the boots back to the owner, Baba said, pointing towards the direction where Kofi was coming from. Baba, the boots are mine, Kofi said with a grin. What did you just say? Baba queried again to be sure of what he had heard. The boots are mine. And then Baba turned and looked at Amara. How come? You bought him soccer boots, and you didn't even tell me about it. Where did you get money to buy them? Baba, I'm so sorry I didn't tell you. Zara actually bought them, Amara replied nervously. Zara? Baba questioned, and Amara nodded. Who is Zara? Baba, my sister. Your sister? Baba asked with a giggle. I don't understand all this, please. The sister I don't know about. Baba, actually, she's Mommy's daughter. Your Mommy's daughter? I don't understand. Have you been visiting your mother without my knowledge? I'm not even against that because you're still very much her child, but why will they buy you something and you both kept it away from me? Baba, it's not like that, Amara said, and then squatted beside him. She narrated everything to him, but Baba wasn't okay with the idea. I'm not okay with this at all. How can a little girl buy soccer boots for him with her savings? What will then happen if her parents find out? You know your mother, you know how saucy she can be. Please ask Kofi to return the boots, or just wait for the girl to visit again, and then you tell her politely that you don't want them. We've been managing ourselves all these years and God has been helping us. You will surely get soccer boots, I'm sure of that. Not just that I will be in my living room watching you play on TV very, very soon, and by that time we must have forgotten our struggles. Baba said with a deep smile, but Kofi wasn't okay with all he just said. But Baba, you know very well that if I return this, I will no longer join them in the field to play football. I have been mocked in the past simply because I had no boots, and now that God has provided, you want me to return it. That means you don't mean well for me at all, said Kofi in tears, walking out. It's not like that, I never meant it that way, Baba said, but Kofi was not ready to listen as he walked out on both of them. That night he didn't eat the food Amara prepared and was also not talking to them. He was just in tears and she really felt for him. But Baba, Zara is not like that. Please allow him keep the boots, Amara said. No, Amara, you don't see what I'm seeing. Please return it. I'll take him to the coach tomorrow so I can talk to him to allow him play for now without boots, said Baba, and Amara kept quiet because Baba wasn't ready to be convinced. The following day when Amara was going to her stall, she took the boots because she didn't just want whatever would make Baba unhappy because of his health. Maybe Zara would come visiting so she could tell her that they don't want them, but she didn't, and that was how Amara kept going to the stall with it every single day for almost 2 weeks when Zara finally showed up. Amara sat her down and she told her a bit about herself, that they didn't have a mother, but she never told her that her mother was also hers, and that her father didn't want the boots, reason being that she was too young to do so, and also apologized to her. To Amara's surprise, Zara asked to see Baba so she could talk to him herself. Well, Amara locked up her stall and took her home, and Zara greeted Baba on bended knees. But Baba's jaw dropped in awe on seeing her, that he immediately stood up slowly from his chair with his mouth still agape. Abadia, Baba exclaimed all of a sudden, with eyes still glued to Zara and Amara looked at each other. No, Baba, she's Zara, the girl that bought Kofi the boots, Amara said, and Baba turned swiftly to look at her. You don't mean it, Baba exclaimed and grabbed Zara's arm. By the side of her arm are 3 black dots, and Baba pointed at it. Amara hadn't seen that mark on her before, so when she saw it she became so shocked too. She raised her shirt, and on that same spot on her arm are the same dots. See, same spot, same place, Amara said to Baba, also pointing at it, and then Baba looked at Zara, who stood there trying to comprehend what was going on. Did your mother tell you anything about who your father is? Baba asked. I don't understand, sir. I already know my father, Zara replied, confusion evident in her voice. Who is he? Baba asked, and Zara, who was already beginning to feel uncomfortable, looked at Amara. Baba, I don't think that question is necessary. Please let her be, Amara said to him, but Baba wasn't ready to give up. I'm sorry to ask, but who is he? I really don't know what to say, because I don't think you know him. He's at home as we speak, Zara answered hesitantly. As soon as Baba heard that, he let out a deep sigh. But what about the matching birthmarks? Asked Zara, looking at Amara. I really don't know why we both have it, believe me, Amara replied. Baba, do you know anything about the marks? Amara asked. It's a very long story. You see, my mother used to have those birthmarks, same place, same pattern, and her name was Abodea, Baba explained. Yes, you've told me that before, Amara said, but this is so confusing. Why does she have the same mark? Or is it because she was born by… Amara said, but when she remembered that she hadn't told Zara that they were related, she quickly covered her mouth. You were going to say something. Born by… Born by what? Zara queried, staring sternly at Amara. No, I meant born by a Lagos State woman. Remember I once told you that our mom was also from Lagos State, Amara said, and Zara immediately grinned. Oh, that's true. Maybe that's why, Zara said. Baba immediately turned his back and began to walk slowly into his room. Baba, are you okay? Amara asked, and Baba paused and nodded, and then continued again. Please, sir, can Kofi have the boots? Asked Zara, and Baba raised a hand above his head. He can, he said. Thank God, Amara muttered. Zara and Amara sat for a while, and then Amara decided to return to her stall with her. Zara was quiet all the while, without saying even a word to Amara. A few minutes later, Amara decided to ask her why she was so quiet. I don't know what's going on, but I just don't feel okay with all this. I feel there's more to it, Zara said, looking at Amara, and then Amara turned swiftly, looking away. I must go now, Zara said, and then stood up and walked to the awaiting car. That night, when Amara arrived home, she met Kofi, so happy, already preparing to come to her stall before she showed up. Why such excitement? Oh, Baba must have told you that you can have the boots, Amara said, dropping her bag on the pavement before the house. Are you serious? Wow, Kofi exclaimed all of a sudden, and Amara stood there watching him, so surprised. So why were you so happy? She asked with a hand on her waist. Some men came from England from the academy, and guess what? I have been chosen alongside some few others to be properly trained in England next month. Wow, Amara screamed, and then she hugged him. But how much is involved? I mean, how much are you guys going to pay? You know we have nothing. They said it's an all-expense-paid trip, but our coach is saying that we must pay the sum of 200,000 naira before he can release us. 200,000 naira, Amara exclaimed, and Kofi nodded. I have never seen that kind of money since I was born. In fact, if you sell all I have, you can't realize that kind of money. Please, maybe next time you will go, but now there's no such money anywhere, and you know too that Baba doesn't have. So I'm not going with them, Kofi asked, already in tears. I'm afraid not, Amara said, and then he walked away. That night, Baba called them both and revealed to them something very shocking. He told them that years ago, Mommy once visited home when Kofi and Amara went to sell vegetables, saying that she forgot her documents when she moved out, so she came to pick them up. But Baba tried begging her to return, and she refused, so he forcefully slept with her. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the story so far, please drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so you won't miss any updates. Thank you, and remember, we love you.